First off, whatever anybody tells you that their time frame is, because we need to get their expectations and what their time frames are, right? So whatever they tell you, cut that in half and then set that as the target time frame. So if somebody tells me a year, boom, now that means 6 months. So with a 6 month time frame, and as it gets closer under that 6 months, it gets more frequent. But let's just say, just going off your example, if they tell me a year, that's going to mean 6 months. So on that, at that point, okay, of course I've identified, because look, let me even take a step back from there before I get in the process. I do not give a shit if they're looking tomorrow or 3 months or 6 months or 2 years or 5 years. Because I plan on being here. We talked about this earlier, playing the long game.
Long game.
I need clients in 2 years. I need clients in 5 years. I'm just here to develop as many relationships, whatever their timetable is. I don't care. I just want to be their realtor of choice. Just like with agent recruiting, I don't care. Like when they want to join me, just at some point, I want them to join me.
So the question is this: how do most agents succeed in today's competitive real estate market when all the successful agents are keeping the secrets to themselves? So that's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. I interview agents from all over the world. I ask them their tactics, and they share all of their secrets with me so we can give them to the world. I'm Aaron Amuchastegui,
and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars.
All right, welcome back to the Real Estate Rockstars podcast. I'm Shelby Johnson, and I am not here with your normal host today, Aaron Amuchastegui. He's in Alaska, so I am hijacking entirely. And because of that, I got to handpick exactly who I wanted to interview today. So I'm super excited to have Joshua Smith on the show, who's a total badass in every way. Joshua, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. I'm so stoked and honored to be here. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Dude, I love that. And I love that you were already on the show back in 2016, but it has been long enough. It is time for round two. So real quick, before we jump in, I'm going to hit listeners with some quick stats so they know who they're listening to. And then we can jump into the nitty gritty. So Joshua Smith, you have been licensed since 2005, started your team in 2006, and the team has sold over 7,000 homes. And last year alone, the GCI, not volume, GCI was 4.7 million. And you are out of Phoenix, Arizona, 30 full-time agents. But you also have done like everything else under the sun. You have the coaching program, and you created a CRM, and you just overall are systems oriented. And so, dude, like, what haven't you done?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot, right? There's so many things to do, and that's the hardest part about life. When people tell me they're bored, I'm like, how the fuck can you possibly be bored in this life, man? There's just so many things to do, so many books to read, so many cool people to have conversations with, but yeah, I mean, I feel like I've been in this industry now for almost 20 years. I was just having a conversation with my wife not too long ago about this, but I'm like, I feel like this first 20 years, like, because I just turned 40, and I was like, I feel like my first 40 years of my life has just been that warm up, that not necessarily warm up, but setting those solid foundations that I need to become the person, the leader, the foundation, just the laying that foundation that I need to now accelerate and create what it is I was meant to go out there and create. Like, I feel like I'm just getting started.
So to me, that alone is like crazy, because if you look at literally, I read maybe, 1/4 of what you sent over as what you've done so far. Most people would go their whole lives and be like, I haven't done nearly as much as that. And you are like just getting started. So
yeah, I think a big part of that too is always raising your inner circle, man. Like who are you spending time with? Who are you? I do everything I can to hang out in rooms and be as close in proximity to people that I can, where I feel like a freaking ant, where I'm like, I want to be the dumbest, poorest, worst shape, like dude in the rooms that I get involved in. And it creates so much inspiration. It just shows you how much more is capable and what's available out there. And, and I learned this a long time ago, but it was, in the beginning, I used to set these goals where it was like, okay, you'd set this goal and then you'd achieve it. But then when I achieved that goal, it never had like the feeling I thought. It was like, whatever's an income goal or an award goal, you got there And it was just like, okay, well then what's next? So for me, a long time ago, I learned, man, I got to set goals that don't have finish lines. So what's the goal of life? What's the, what am I trying to do here and build? And that's just led to a lot of bigger thinking and thought processes.
Dude, you were killing me because I came into this with like very specific things I was going to ask you, but already based on that, I want to segue a little bit. So like, okay, hypothetically, people are listening to this podcast, they're agents and they are looking to level up. How are you getting into those rooms consistently? Like, getting with the next level of people. How are you doing that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's difficult. It's a process, like when you want to go and get access to that, badass mentor, let's just say, well, look, these people are extremely busy. They're extremely successful. Like, okay, one of my top personal and business mentors, he just sold his last company for $792 million. He makes $36,000 an hour, $36,000 an hour, 24/7, like in his sleep, like, so, okay. I mean, you could do the calculation on that. Like, okay, it's very difficult to get access to something like that. His time's so valuable, he's got an organization with hundreds of thousands of people involved in it. And, he's got a family and, so you got to chase him like you're chasing the biggest client of your life, and being intentional about what can I do to contribute? What can I do to add value? You're not going to, for some, like in the very beginning of my real estate career, even before I got licensed, I think one of the reasons why I had so much success out of the gate is I got very intentional about studying the top producers on my market and asking to take them out to lunch and, all of those things. So the day when I got started, boom, I had a game plan. And there's a level of people that might be ahead of you that, okay, hey, look, you can just ask for a conversation with them. You can ask to go out to lunch. But then as you keep leveling up with these things, it gets harder and harder to get into those rooms and have those conversations. So, I've always believed in leading with contribution, so thinking about what can I do? Like here's an example. So I had a mentor or have a mentor of mine who's turned into a great friend. But I saw on Facebook, because I was following her on Facebook at the time, and she had posted out there, hey, does anybody know any badass WordPress developers? And I was like, yeah, I do, so I messaged her. I'm like, what are you needing? What are you looking for? What she didn't know is I have several WordPress developers that worked for me at the time. So I was like, okay, let me see what she's looking for. And then let me just go out there. And I went to my team and we just built it out. I had them drop everything. I'm just like, I want you to build this out, have it delivered, have it epic, blow her mind. I want it done within 72 hours. So she thought I was just going to get her contact information. And then I'm like, here it is. Here's what you want. Here it's built out for you.
Dude.
And what did that cost me? A few grand, Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to, there was a time where $500 was a ton of money to me. So I don't want to act like a few grand isn't a lot of money, because I know we're all at different spots, but that's just an example of, leading from contribution of, and look, there was no guarantee with that. The mentor I was just telling you about, Ryan Blair, I've always wanted him on my podcast, and that's where our relationship started. But I couldn't get him on the podcast. For like years straight, just couldn't get him on the podcast. He's too damn busy. Well, I saw he was coming out with a new book, and I loved his first book. So then I went and pre-ordered 100 copies, but the most that they would allow me to pre-order, which I think was 100 copies. So then I reached out to his PR team, and I'm like, look, I'm going to do a promo. I want to get him on the podcast. I'm going to do a promo. I'm going to give away 100 of his books for free. But anybody that watches the podcast, in order to get the free book, they have to go buy his first book, give him a 5-star review, shoot me that receipt. And then I'm like, I'm going to send them then a copy of his book on my own dime. Plus, I'm going to send them a Get Shit Done GSD Mode t-shirt. I'll pay for the shipping. So just to set that up and get him on my podcast was like 15 grand, but dude, it led to an amazing, epic relationship that we still have now today, and we've stayed in contact. So, and look, you can pay to get in the rooms, like Darren Hardy's High Performance Forum is an amazing room to get into, if you go through like the VIP experience, it's like 13 grand for 2.5 days. And, and I've sitting in that room with guys like Dave Liniger, the founder of Remax International, and, all these 9-figure, business owners and some 10-figure, just crazy stuff. So, but it's about being intentional
and relentless. Sounds like, it's like if you would have just asked, they would have been like, no, or they did, in that example where you wanted to get in the room. What was his name? The guy who you pre-ordered all the books from?
Ryan Blair.
Yeah. Yeah, he blew. He was like, no, I don't want to be on your pod. I'm too busy, all those things. But it was finding a way to, like you said, present value for yourself, but also show that you're absolutely relentless. I know, like, from the perspective of a newer agent who's looking for a mentor, it's like there's a million new agents and they all went to mentor, and 87% fail out rate or quit rate really by year 2. So like the return on the time and the energy is not there. Something that I did my first year that worked really well, like hypothetically, if you don't have the money or the staff, is instead of asking for them to train me, I just asked to exist in their presence. So like, hey, I am not in exchange for your development, but can I sit in the room with you when you're on the call going over the repair request with your agent? Can I ride in the car with you on the way to the listing appointment? I don't want any extra time. I just want to be around you and absorb everything I can. But I think it all goes back to, like you said, being intentional, knowing what you want, being relentless to find it. So,
yeah. And there's always that value exchange. One of my first kind of agent mentors, she was an older gal in my office that just dominated her geo farm. And she crushed it with open houses. And when I say dominated the geo farm, like 50+% market share and just is a beast, And I was like, hey, dude, I need to learn from that lady. Well, I was 23 when I first got in the industry. Technology was just starting to come into, real estate at that point. So I had more tech savviness than she did. So I went to her and I proposed. I was like, hey, I want to learn from you. I want you to teach me your open houses. I want to be able to have the opportunity, because she had always listings. And I was like, I need listings to sit open houses on. I'll become your tech guy. So there was an equal trade there. I taught her tech, made sure computers were set up. I taught her, like, this was before smartphones. So all this stuff was coming out, and, so there was that exchange there. Another one of my mentors, like, look for where they need help. And again, just add that value, and even if it's as simple as, okay, hey, I want to shadow you doing this open house. I'll be a fly in the wall. I'll just be your assistant. I'll set up all your signs for you. I'll go do all the legwork. I'll do, like, use me however you want to use me. I just want to watch you in action. One of my great business mentors today, I realized that, it was like, dude, I wanted access to. I realized that he had been struggling for years with obesity, which I did as well at one point, lost over 100 pounds. And so I went through that journey personally. I know what that's like. So through some mutual friends, I'm like, hey, man, like, just let him know that if this is something he's struggling with, just share my story with him. And let him know I'd be happy to help him and happy to watch. So it wasn't anything about business. It wasn't anything about that. Yeah. Well, I don't hear from the guy for several years. Then all of a sudden I get a private message from him, and he reaches out to me. He's like, man, I've been following you now on social media for a couple of years. I love your energy. I love everything you do, everything you're about. Hey man, would you be willing to go to lunch for me? I've got some questions for you. So I go to lunch with him, and the whole thing is about, hey man, I've been struggling with this, but he wasn't that old, and he still had young kids, and he's like, dude, my health is deteriorating fast, and his heart, and all of this stuff. And he's like, man, I got to turn this thing around, but I don't know what to do, and I don't want to go through the whole surgery stuff. That's not the long-term fix. And so I started off that relationship by becoming his mentor, and I played it off of like, hey, look, dude, I will help you with this. I know exactly what to do. I used to be a personal trainer, and I'm like, I will write up your diet. I will write up your workouts. I will hold you accountable. But look, man, I got multiple businesses. I've got 3 young kids at home. I'm busy. So you got to promise me that you're not going to waste my time. So you're my, talking to this dude with hundreds of millions of dollars, but, I helped him lose over 80 pounds and made a big impact on his life. And so then now it's like, the
door is open.
There's not a business issue that I would ever need help with that he wouldn't answer my phone, call on.
Totally.
Right. Cause it's not about like my focus. Cause early on I learned that, dude, it's all about relationships. Everything's about relationships. So I'm like, okay, I need to build this Rolodex, to the point where any problem that I incur, I know I have the right person in here to call, but it's not about just having the right person in there to call. It's okay. Are they willing to pick up your phone and pour into you to help give you that guidance and that information? So how do you develop and what do you do? Maybe you volunteer, find out they're involved in a charity. You donate time for that charity, whatever it is.
Dude, for sure. And that's something that you've done that's really interesting is you've been in it for, 20 years, like you just said, and you're playing a long game. So I feel like so many people play the short game and they're not willing to invest the energy into the relationships that is required for people to want to pick up the phone for you, because they're looking ahead the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, maybe 2 years is a long-term play for them. But if you extend the time horizon and you understand that the value, the amount of energy you put in today can pay off in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, then maybe. But I know I could talk about this forever, and I want to ask so many questions about like the weight loss, like that whole journey, but I'm going to bring it back. So one of the things that I want to talk about today is your coaching business. And the reason why is because a lot of people, no matter where they are in their business, consider coaching. And in their heads, they're like, dude, what does that even mean? What do I even need to, like, I don't know. Can you walk us through what your coaching program is?
Yeah. So, so I spent my first 10 years of my career just building my real estate business, and then after that point, because to me, how I define a business is I can step away from it, disappear for 2 months or a year or however long that is, and it's running without my involvement.
That's so powerful.
Yeah. The frustrations that I had, though, was the amount of time that it took. And, I'd invested over $1 million in hiring every coach under the sun and consultants. And, I'm like, dude, it shouldn't have taken that much money, that much time. So then, though, I go from working 80 hours a week to now, like, I'm not working at all and I'm bored. I'm like, what am I going to do? And I built up a pretty, decent name for myself in the industry, and I become the 30th top realtor in America, and had some, speaking on a lot of podcasts and stages and, whatever at that point. So I had a lot of people reaching out, always asking me, hey, will you mentor and coach me? And it's like, hey man, I'm busy building my own business. I don't do coaching, but, so anyway, there was demand for it. Totally. Then I was like, okay, I'm good at it. I love it, because in order to build a successful real estate business, you got to get damn good at coaching your agents to productivity, whether it be a team or a brokerage or a combination thereof, so I'm like, dude, that was the part that I fell in love with this business, so I was like, okay, I love it. I'm good at it. There's demand for it. So let me move forward with this. But I'm like, dude, I want to create the program I wished always existed, so, cause so many coaching programs out there, wasn't that the coaches that I had were bad, but it was just like, you get one piece of the puzzle and then you got to go find out this other piece and then this other piece. And
exactly.
And so much of this just pigeonholes you into having a job, not a business. And then they have the whole upsell ladder model. So I was like, all right, like I want to create the most effective program that exists out there, but make it the most affordable. Anybody, even if you're brand new and you're broke, you can afford the program. And, but in order to do that, I figured out a few things. Cause, now I've been doing this for 8 years. I've coached and mentored over 5,000 realtors, team leaders, and brokerage owners. And, through that process, because it comes down to, okay, that length of time, that speed. Okay, how can people replicate what took me 10 years to do and get that done in 2 years? Well, I found it's not enough to show people what to do and how to do it. Right. And that's imperative. But then we get so bogged down with the build out, and that becomes that overwhelming process. So, the blessed thing for me is I already have all this stuff built out in my business. So I'm like, let me show everybody exactly what to do, exactly step by step how to do it. But then let me just give them everything, give them all my processes, all my manuals, all my trackers, every drip, every script, every presentation, every piece of marketing material, all the way down to my employment contracts, agent contracts, so, my whole entire, business operations model or our manual, just give it to them. But then from there, okay, well, then people still get stuck. So you have to have an abundance of support. So we figured out a way where everybody has daily access to me personally throughout the whole experience. Because then it's like, as shit comes up, like even if you have a one-on-one coaching talk every week, it's like, okay, well, what about those other 6 days? Like we gotta be able to like squash this shit right up front. So, it's a combination of online, live, we do, group events, plus personal access, all of that.
Okay. So you mentioned before that the other coaching programs would have like one piece of the business, but then you had to go somewhere else for somewhere else. So like, do you have like, hypothetically pillars of within the business that people go through, or what do you see as the most important pieces of the business that the agent has to tackle?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you got to know because here's the thing. The real estate game is the same for all of us. It does not change. It doesn't matter if you're brand new. Like the game that I played my first year of real estate, versus the game that I'm playing now today is the same game. I just have more people playing the game. I have, 110 brokerages, nationwide, plus my team, plus, like I've just got thousands of people now playing the game for me, right? And not for me, but with me. So that's but the game itself is the same. So we got to know the game. We got to master the game. So we got to know it. We got to understand it. We got to master the game. Then from there, we got to dial in our processes, make sure that we have those world-class dialed-in processes wrapped into a system. Then we got to track each element of the game. Then eventually it just comes down to, okay, how big do you want to scale it? So then it's the delegation model from there, so then from there it's, and that's where, we've created it where it's like, okay, I have everybody from brand new agents all the way through clients that own 9 brokerages in 6 different states inside the program. Because I'm like, look, dude, the game is the exact fucking same. People just overcomplicate this. It's all the same shit. It's just, okay, like now, okay, instead of me doing all my paperwork, okay, I got transaction coordinators, I got listing coordinators.
Gotcha.
Instead of me doing my agent recruiting, now I got recruiters, I got onboarders, I got, agents, again, it's just doing it at a bigger scale. That's the only difference.
Okay. I thought it would maybe that was broken down into there's a marketing, then there's sales, then there's delivery.
12 core sections. Yeah.
Okay.
We have 12 core sections that we go through. So, business planning, then to, getting your tracking and all your systems in place, your CRM set up, then we, lead gen, lead follow up. So it's, it's all, it's like a building block, right? Like all the, because that's all part of the game. Like those are our processes to go out there and play the game. Yeah, you got to know how to lead generate. Yeah, you got to know step-by-step lead follow-up. Yeah, you got to know how to go out there and present. Yeah, you got to know how to go out there and lead the client process, get deals closed. Yeah, you got to know how to maximize and optimize and master that repeat referral game so you can maximize LTV. You got to master time management. All of those things are critical components, but they apply to all of us.
Okay, gotcha. That totally makes sense. And now that I kind of got an overview of the coaching. You mentioned before we hit record that let me actually get a direct quote. It's the building the inbound attraction based on marketing funnels. So I feel like this is incredibly powerful to agents no matter what level they're at. It's like that marketing piece or lead gen, whatever you want to call it, and then creating the system or machine that is that piece of the puzzle. I guess for you I guess we could either do the coaching program or for you personally, can you talk us through your marketing funnel?
Yeah, 100%. And just so you know, it doesn't, because what I'm teaching in the coaching program is just teaching what I'm doing in my own business, right? So gotcha, it's all the same, right? So, all right, so the first thing that I want to say here, just to make it clear for everybody, at least in my experience, and I just live, breathe real estate and have for 2 decades now. So, I'm pretty certain when I say this is that everything works, nothing doesn't. So it doesn't matter, dude, if you want to be outbound based, if you want to be prospecting based, if you love the phones and love pounding the phones all day long, then good, go at it, right? It's just not, you got to understand what your strengths are, what you enjoy doing, what your passions are. Because again, we're blessed to be in an industry where you can go out, there's thousands of things that work. What works for you? Like you couldn't pay me to go to a cold calling conference. Yeah. Not that it doesn't work. It's effective. I just fucking hate it. But I love inbound marketing style where people come to me, okay, well, you're going to ask a question.
I was going to say, let's pick one and then let's just go deep on the one. So,
So, when it comes to inbound, I just realized, okay, I'm an introvert by nature, and I hate high pressure sales. So I'm like, okay, I want people coming to me that are reaching out to me, that are raising their hand, that are excited to talk to me, whether it be an expired, whether it be a FSBO, whether it be a short sell, whether it be a buyer, whether it be a seller, whether it be an investor, that's my protocol, my style, and then from there also it comes to those value adds, it's like one of the most effective strategies that we do now today that is the highest converting lead source that I've ever seen to exist out there outside of, past client, like repeat referral business. Right. But as far as new business, is YouTube. You were talking just average mediocre results are 20% conversions. Like if you get really good at this, we're talking 40% conversions on lead sources, and then you got to also remember that the higher the ticket item, the longer the sales cycle, but the more experiences people need to have with you, so in high ticket items, it's just proven now in just marketing behavior that people need to, on average, spend about 7 hours with you and with your content, before they'll actually make an actual commitment decision. So like with YouTube, it's just a great way to get them to know you, because what's the game? Get people to know you, like you, trust you, follow it frequently, and or keep your message in front of them frequently. Your business continues to grow. And the other thing I love about inbound is it's so much more scalable. I can have 1,000 people watching a video, and whether that be online, whether it be, on YouTube or Facebook or there's so many different mediums and platforms out there, and I don't know if you had any follow-up questions, but I'll Otherwise, I'm just going to rip and keep going.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no. So just to summarize what I heard so far, which I love, is that with you, so hypothetically, if you're out there and you're listening and you're like, yeah, sure, everything works. How do I choose my strategy, right? So you personally identified what was an authentic fit for your personality, being an introvert. You identified exactly who you wanted to talk to, and then you devised a plan to be the most authentic fit and talk to the target audience that you're specifically looking for. And I just feel like that is really powerful because a lot of people will just shotgun approach, which in the beginning you don't know, what you like and what you don't. But once you do, you can gear your entire lead gen marketing strategy around what is the best fit for you. So yeah, okay, cool. And then we're talking about specifically, I think if we did it on YouTube, that would be great. So YouTube being scalable and the 7 hours of your content before they actually commit, freaking genius. Okay, now continue ripping.
Okay. So if we stay on YouTube, and remember, it doesn't need to be YouTube because it's just inbound. Like, okay, my expired strategy is a letter strategy. It's just a series of letters. But now I get expireds calling me saying, hey, we're thinking about, listing our home. We'd like you to come to our house and meet with us. Would you be willing to do that? Like, that's what I want my clients doing. I want them to want to talk to me, want to meet me. They're scheduling the calls. They're, and it's just the way I love doing business. I hate chasing. I want to attract, right? So attraction-based business.
Yeah.
So then, and the reason why I want to bring that up is because this can apply to anything, but if we stay on the YouTube space here, just because YouTube is so powerful, when we look at YouTube, first of all, it's like, okay, what kind of content do we create on YouTube? Okay, well, just understanding, and I know in our industry, Zillow's got a bad name. People perceive Zillow as the enemy, whatever, it's a different topic, but it's like, okay, but we know they're the juggernaut, over 100 million unique visitors every single month. It's like, okay, but what can people go on Zillow and find? They can find everything about the house itself. What can't they find? It's like, okay, we got our lives inside the house and then we got this whole life outside of the house. So be what Zillow can't deliver, right? With your YouTube channel. So it's like, okay, what's it like living in XYZ city? What are the schools like? What are the neighborhoods like? What am I going to do for fun? What are the activities and recreational activities that we can do with our kids and our family? And know your ideal client, right? Like, you got to know who you're speaking to and you're creating content for your ideal client. So, whether that be, veterans, whether it be, second time move up buyers with young families, or if you're, niches baby boomers that are downsizing, like, you're creating content that speaks specifically to your ideal client. So when you're creating a video, as an example, like, you're not speaking to many, just visualize you're having a one-on-one conversation with your ideal client and you're speaking directly to them. But that marketing message match needs to be there. But that's the kind of content that you're creating, like videos that crush, top 10 reasons to live in XYZ city, pros and cons of living in XYZ city, I already talked about, I think, cost of living in. So you got cost of living in.
Yeah.
So all that lifestyle stuff, area style vlog, all the shit to do, all of that stuff, and then from there, so that gives you an idea of topics, but then from there, it's like anything that you do, I want everybody to understand, I already said this earlier, but everything works, nothing doesn't. So if you are having resistance with anything that you are doing, it's not the thing that doesn't work. I mean, how many times do we hear that? Oh, open house, I tried them, they don't work for me. Oh, I tried Facebook ads, they don't work for me. No, you just fucking...
You're the problem.
Yeah, you suck at it. It's like when people tell me that, oh, I tried dieting and working out, it just doesn't work for me. I'm like, dude, calories, the weight measurement, it's kind of physics. Like, maybe you just had the wrong diet. Yeah. Right? So anyway, with that, so there's an art to it. When it comes to the video framework, so when I'm doing it, the video framework, it's like, okay, you got to grab their attention. So what is that hook, that attention grabber in the beginning? Okay, then we're going to make sure that attention hook grabber should then lead into or include the title of the video. Then we'll get into a quick, less than 10-second intro with the CTA. Then we'll get into the meat of the content, and with the meat of the content, encouraging engagement, so comments and whatnot. Then we lead to the ending CTA, because if you're not asking for business and guiding and walking people through this, like, okay,
quick CTAs for us, calls to action. What are a good example?
Hey listeners, Aaron here. I just want to tell you about something I'm super, super excited about. You know, a couple months ago, I had a bunch of people in my office in Austin, and I taught what I called my foreclosure masterclass. It was to teach investors how to make money with distressed real estate investing through foreclosures and other sorts of leads that are out there of people that are desperate to sell or need to sell, and maybe they don't even know it yet. And that process. Well, we had so much fun when everyone came to the office. So many people said they wanted to do it again. I recorded the class. It's now live and available for purchase. So if you're interested in learning about becoming an investor and learning about becoming an investor agent, being able to educate yourself some more around foreclosures, about distressed real estate, and how to get those, go to theforeclosuremasterclass.com. Theforeclosuremasterclass.com. All right, back to the podcast.
So, you know, a lot of people think, oh, click subscribe. At the end of the day, subscribers don't matter anymore. It just is irrelevant. So, I mean, you can have little pop-ups, but I do that like in the video editing if you were going to do that. The call to actions are like letting people know that you're in real estate. Like if people don't know, hey, you know, as much as I love making these videos and updating you about or informing you about all the amazing things to do here in Phoenix, Arizona, I love even more helping my amazing clients with their real estate needs and goals. So if there's anything I can do to serve and support you and your family that accomplish your real estate goals, my contact information is below. Feel free to call, text, email anytime.
Ooh, okay. Love that. Because that applies too across all platforms, not just YouTube. But like, I feel like that's very consistent where people sometimes have no issue putting out content, but they really struggle with asking for the business consistently. And it's like, what's the point of doing the freaking content? You're not going to ask for the business. But okay. So you've done the video. We've identified your avatar, the topics, the hook, the call to action. And at this point, they've watched 7 hours of your face and they're like, Joshua Smith is the dude for me. And they go where? Can we talk from this point? We have the inbound. Where do they go through your funnel?
Yeah. So, and this is just going to depend on how you want to set it up. I mean, for me, I prefer to schedule a Zoom call. Now I'll give them the option. Hey, you can call, text, email, you know, or below if you want to schedule a Zoom call with me, you know, and you have your Calendly link right in there. Now, where YouTube, it doesn't mean that it only is going to work for this, but where YouTube really excels is for reloads. You know, so if you're in Phoenix thinking about moving to North Carolina, it's like, okay, I can go see the homes in North Carolina, but I don't know shit about the neighborhoods. I don't know shit about the schools. I don't know what, you know, the stores, the shopping, so you're going to go on YouTube because we're 2,000 miles away to see what's it like living there, you know? Yeah. You know, so the golden rules treat others how they want to be treated, or treat others how you want to be treated. The platinum rules treat others how they want to be treated, right?
Totally.
So I just give them the option, right? So, you know, call, text, email. So however they're going to get in touch with me, then boom, like it's speed. And when I say it's speed, the great thing about these is because look, what I love about YouTube is people that don't like you, that don't connect with you, they're not going to reach out. It's people that like you, that connect with you, they're going to reach out. You know, they're, so it's not like a Zillow Live Connect where it's like, dude, if you're not reactive, you're fucked and you're going to lose money hand over fist, you know? Well, with this, okay, like I'm going to get back to them as quick as I possibly can. Hopefully that same day, you know, with that. And again, this is why I like the calendar link because they can just schedule it. And that's what most of ours do, you know? But then sometimes too, a lot of them will, cause like it's on YouTube. Okay. They'll get to know me as the realtor on YouTube, because I'm not sharing stuff about personal life, but then they might follow me on Instagram or follow you on Facebook. And then they might come in from a DM on that way too, you know, right? So all these kind of, you know, you got the social media ecosystem that kind of all lives together. But then from there, I mean, look, the point of every lead is to set an appointment, right? So I am just going to follow up as quickly as I possibly can, lead that process, set an appointment, right? And an
appointment for you is the Zoom. That's the initial, or what is an appointment? Is it in person, or what are you defining as an appointment?
So an appointment, okay, you got appointment set and then you got appointment conduction. So an appointment set is, okay, we've set a physical appointment, whether that be virtual or whether it be in person. I mean, I prefer them to be virtual, even if they're local, and most clients prefer that too, because there's an element of comfort there and it's just, you know, quicker and easier and whatnot. But I don't care. I don't care if it's over Zoom or if it's face to face, you know, like I just want the appointment, right? Because if I like what's okay, you got to go out there and generate leads. Leads exist to go out there and set appointments. Appointments set exist to conduct them. Conductions exist to generate clients. Clients to under contract. To commission check. Past client repeat now becomes your number one lead source, right?
Dude, we're gonna have to like slow that down. But no, it's great. It's great. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just, you know, because I know we could jam on this for hours, but we have a short window of time, so I'm trying to squeeze all this in here. But you know, so with that, again, I don't care. But how do I define, because definitions are important in our business, right?
Yes.
So an appointment is, okay, I've set an appointment to educate and have a conversation. Well, okay, let me even simplify it more than that. I've set an appointment with the intent for me to convert them into a client. So I'm going to go through good goal discovery, what their expectations are, what their timelines are, what they're looking to go out there and accomplish. Because how can you serve and support a client unless you have extreme clarity on what they want and what's most important to them? So
Totally.
The appointment is the next, natural progression of the process, right? But then from there, I'm going to pitch my services, and I'm going to get a buyer broker agreement signed or a listing contract. At that appointment, I'm vetting to make sure that they're ready, willing, able, and committed.
Okay, cool. So we got it from the call to action. We got it to the appointment. My question is, to backtrack slightly, when they come in as they can schedule a Calendly, they can text, call, or email, what is your process from that to a CRM or automated type of, or does it come to like your phone and then you're like inputting it into your CRM? Like, what does that piece look like?
It depends how, okay, if they call or if they text, then it's going to be a manual input. If they book a Calendly link, because you can just create a zap into any major CRM out there, through Zapier. So that's very easy to get them auto dumped into the CRM and then, trigger, a conduction sequence, right? Because if we set the appointment, we got to make sure it conducts. Industry average is 50%. We strive for 75% or greater in our team. So we got to make sure that we've got to dial an appointment confirmation process to get them to show up for that appointment. So sometimes it's manual input. If they physically reach out, but if they schedule a Calendly or if they do some type of intake online form, okay, I can have them auto dumped in there. Okay,
I love that you also said Zap. I know it's Zapier. I don't know which way to pronounce it, but I know it's been out there for a long time. I just went like super deep into it yesterday, and that shit is amazing. So if you've not looked into Zapier, whatever.com, you need to Google it because it automates a lot of those like manual inputs that you have to do because technology is fucking cool. But okay, next question. So let's say hypothetically they're not ready and they came in and you had an appointment with them and they're going to be ready in like a year. So however they get into your CRM, great. But what is your like touch point, follow-up, nurture process look like from that point for the next 12 months-ish?
Yeah. So, okay, first off, whatever anybody tells you that their time frame is, because we need to get their expectations and what their time frames are, right? So whatever they tell you, cut that in half and then set that as the target time frame. So if somebody tells me a year, boom, now that means 6 months. So with a 6-month time frame, and as it gets closer under that 6 months, it gets more frequent. But let's just say, just going off your example, if they tell me a year, that's going to mean 6 months. So on that, at that point, okay, of course I've identified. Because look, let me even take a step back from there before I get in the process. I do not give a shit if they're looking tomorrow or 3 months or 6 months or 2 years or 5 years. Because I plan on being here. We talked about this earlier, playing the long game. I need clients in 2 years. I need clients in 5 years. I'm just here to develop as many relationships, whatever their timetable is. I don't care. I just want to be their realtor of choice. Just like with agent recruiting, I don't care. Like when they want to join me. Just at some point, I want them to join me. All right. Yeah. So anyway, then from there, okay, I've also then identified what they're looking for. So I'm going to set them up on instant property alerts through my CRM. So that's happening. So they're, getting, hopefully daily or with lower inventory, it might be several times a week, but they're getting those instant property alerts. Then from there, I have 5.5 broadcast emails that I do every single month to every single human being that's inside my CRM. So we do a Monday motivation message, nothing about real estate.
This is true because I get them.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. So, the Monday motivation is just, hey, happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. As always, I like to start the week off right with some words of motivation, inspirational, motivational quote, image, and it's one of my highest converting things that because dude, people are just so freaking depressed and unhappy and just, Mondays suck for most people, so it has nothing to do with real estate. Then from there we do, the seven primary holidays, just a happy holiday. So, hey, wishing you and your family a happy 4th of July. Hope it's amazing, whatever. Now with those, you always want them going out the morning of the holiday. So when I send out like a Merry Christmas, what does everybody else do? Like you got to think about, okay, everybody that's in your system is in 12 other people's systems as well. So what the fuck is everybody else doing? And differentiate yourself and be different.
The same shit.
So when I do a Merry Christmas, it's like going out on Christmas morning at 10 a.m. by that time they're probably done with their opening gifts with kids, or whatever. Everybody else is sending that the last business day of, it floods inboxes. Dude, the response rate is insane on the mornings of the holidays. And you can schedule this stuff. So I go in my perfect CRM, which I use Perfect Storm. I schedule it, put that in there so I don't have to like message them on Christmas morning. Then we do a monthly market update video that's just generalized of what's going on in the market. So that ends up being 5.5 broadcast emails, right? Then I have them, like every lead in my system goes on a 1,000-day email text strip campaign, and they're going to stay on that email text strip campaign until they become a client. So they're also getting email text follow-ups, just check-ins, and don't just go out there and adopt whatever blanket generic fucking drip is in your CRM. Like, give value add content. People are always like, well, dude, how do I get good open rates? I'm like, write shit that people have value, value that they want to read. Right? Like I get like 60% open rates, dude. Like, okay, like when I'm walking them through, like, subject line of why you should never, or why you might not want to pay, why you may not want to pay as much as you're qualified for when buying a home. Yeah. And then I walk them through a budget. I walk them through, hey, here's how your lender goes out there and deciphers and articulates what your loan to value ratio is, but they're not taking into account, hey, what's your future saving plans? Do you have kids that you want to save for their college for? Do you have kids that like all of those things, right? And then one last thing so I don't forget. So I got the 1,000-day email text strip. Then I've got my phone calls, right? So then at this point, in this situation, somebody that tells me a year out, they're going to get a phone call from me at worst. So my CRM is going to task me every 30 days to get them on the phone. Now, there can be more frequent calls on that based on how those calls go. But worst case scenario, they're also hearing with me from a phone call every 30 days. Then I'll also try to connect with them on social media. So now they're seeing, because I post 27 pieces of content a day between all platforms. So they're not going to get away from me.
Dude, listening to you, I'm like, I'm exhausted. Not really. Like, I fucking love your energy, but I'm trying to channel an agent who is listening to all of these things. So I just wanted to do a reminder, that you have been in this industry for years and years and years. And, that although what's the saying? It's like, you don't eat an elephant in a bite. Wait, one bite?
Yeah, one bite at a time.
It's one fucking bite at a time. So yeah, if you're listening, don't freak out. You don't have to do all of this overnight. And realistically, Joshua, this takes years to build out to the point that
it takes a Sunday afternoon.
It takes a Sunday afternoon.
I'll just be like, extremely blunt. Like so many people create so many excuses through overwhelm, which is just a bullshit excuse, right? Like, okay, go. Yeah, I know as I'm spitting it out, it might sound complex. Yeah. But with the technology today, everything I just said there, outside of, okay, when I just click a button inside my CRM when I add them, all that stuff, okay, yeah, I have to write the email.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You said don't use the generic bullshit ones. And in order to create valuable content, you have to think and you know what I mean? So I'm not discounting.
Okay, I can go to, again, technology today, I can go to ChatGPT and I can create a sequence pretty damn fast.
Okay.
So, okay. And let me take a step back from that, right? So I have my CRM automatically sending out the emails and texts. There's 5.5 mass emails that I'm doing. Yeah. That's a mass email. So yeah, I got to write the Monday motivation message, which takes me 3 minutes to do, but I can send that out to 90,000 people and with one click.
Well, and I guess it depends on who you're talking to. So if someone doesn't even have a CRM yet, that whole, you know what I mean? Well, so I'm talking about maybe they're brand new or maybe they have been living on an Excel spreadsheet. There still is build out required to do these things. Which that's the only point that I was going to say. But yes, you're right. Yeah. There is no excuses. I'm totally fucking get shit done mode. Be more. I'm fucking with you. Okay. Okay. Question. So we did the 1,000-day email text campaign and you're doing phone calls. Question about phone calls versus texts. What are your thoughts there?
So I do all of it. Because you don't know how people want to communicate. Now, once I get in touch with them, if they tell me that they hate text, I always ask people, because again, the gold rules treat others how you want to be treated. The platinum rules treat others how they want to be treated. So I ask, what's your preferred way of communication? So then I'll try to abide by that as long as I can. Sometimes I can't, but then from there, it's a combination of all of the above, right? So when I'm doing my phone calls, it's phone call, Most times I'm getting their voicemail. So then I leave a voicemail, and then I follow that up with a personalized video text message, right? So again, thinking of how do I differentiate myself? How do I set myself up apart? So if all of a sudden I'm like, hey, Shelby, Joshua Smith here, insert whatever that, essentially it's the same thing I left in that voicemail, but, I'm stating your name. You can tell it's not an automated thing.
Yeah.
Plus
you're
seeing my name, you're seeing my face. Right? The next best thing from being face to face is video. And then when you're looking at text, like a 98% open rate? I don't know what the other 2% that don't open them do, but it's like they're going to get delivered. People are going to see them.
Yeah.
Hey, Real Estate Rockstars. We only have a few minutes left in this episode, but before we get to the grand finale, I just wanted to say, as always, thank you for listening. Podcasts are obviously free. You don't have to pay to listen to the podcast. But if you could pay one thing, if I could charge you one thing to listen to this podcast, what I would ask you to do is go, please make a review. Go to wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's on YouTube or on Apple or Android, wherever you listen to podcasts, and go give me a review of the podcast. I read them, I listen to them, I try to make adjustments. A couple years ago, I had a ton of bad reviews on the sound quality or the number of advertisements, things like that. And I've really tried to dial in to add value for all of you guys. So please go do a review. If you want to get a copy of the toolbox of the stuff that, everybody that comes on the show, they give us some tactics. They give us something that we put in what we call our toolbox. And so to get that, you go to realestaterockstarsnetwork.com. When you get there, click on the toolbox and you get access to the free gift that every person that we interview on the episode provides. There's things like, listing tactics, how to do a presentation, how to do a newsletter, all sorts of cool, fun stuff. And if you want to talk to me, go find me on Instagram at Aaron Amuchastegui. Ask me a question. I talk to so many of you guys on there. All right, back to the show. Thanks again for being a listener.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. And from there, it is just follow up for 1,000 days. And then if they don't do anything from there, they are dead? Or is it just follow up till you die personally? Or
yeah, so remember the 1,000 day, and I know I went fast on this, the 1,000, that's just the automated email and drips going out. All the other stuff is indefinite and goes on, indefinitely. But then from there, like, okay, as soon as that 1,000 day, if I haven't converted them in 1,000 days on that, I restart that plan over and treat them as a brand new lead. We just had, because I've been doing Facebook ads very heavily since about 2015. And we just converted and closed our longest Facebook ad, our lead that we had in our system. That was in our system for 6 years. Now this person, they never replied to an email. We never were able to get them on a phone. You would have made the assumption that was as cold of or dead of a lead as possible. But then when they, eventually reached out, they're like, hey, thank you so much for staying in touch. Now, we had stopped the phone calls at that point. If I don't get a hold of them, okay, those, well, depending on what that timeline is, if I don't establish a timeline, if it's a brand new lead, I haven't established that timeline, I'm going to call them same day, then every other day for the first 14 days, and every 21 days for the first year. My system's going to automatically tell me when to do those phone calls. But if I don't get them on the phone and get a hold of them after the first year, the phone calls just stop. I'll let everything else automated go in and pick up on that stuff. Yeah. But again, as I mentioned earlier, a lead exists inside your system to set an appointment with them. So, and maybe it's more aggressive than most people's approach or whatever, but it's like, look, dude, if they're not going to eventually do business with me, then opt out and get out of my system.
Right. Bye.
Like when I get opt outs, I don't look at it as a negative thing. They're doing me a favor by doing the sifting and sorting for me. Okay.
I have one more question and then we'll have to shift a little bit over to wrap up. So as I'm listening to this is, you mentioned we're doing YouTube video. They have all of the blasts within the CRM. You also mentioned 27 pieces of content on various platforms a day. So real quick, is there a way that you break up your day or recommend to agents who are doing inbound marketing and have the leads coming in and the follow-up? Like, is there a set amount of time that you recommend towards creation versus follow-up? I don't know, whatever you have in regard to structure of a day.
Yeah. The great part about this is, look, you can block off 2 days a month and create all the content, when it comes to, the things that we talked about here today. But I'll walk you through what I do. Right. So I get in the office early. I get my day started where there's no distractions. and I have from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. is where I create all the content that I have for that day that I need to go out, because I like to do my stuff more live time. So that's going to be the content creation and the content scheduling from 6 to 7 a.m. So it's an undistracted time. So I have an hour blocked off a day for content creation. And again, content creation, when I look at that, that also is pushing the content out there, right? Then from there, I've got, because you talked about this earlier, and I 100% get what you were saying of how what I was saying could be extremely overwhelming, but it's like, okay, when people ask me, well, how did you come up with all these campaigns? Okay, well, I have what I call my daily power hour, and I've been doing this for years, where I have 1 hour set aside every single day, 5 days a week, where I just chip away at building any type of systems or processes that I need. So make it early in the day or late in the evening where you have limited distractions. So when people are like, well, dude, I got to come up with all these email campaigns at once. No,
yes.
you just like if you have 15 minutes a day, right? Okay, and you can write 2 campaigns a day. Well, if you have an email and a text going out, let's just say once a week. Okay, well, if I'm writing 2 of those, every day, well, I got 2 weeks of content that's created every day. So it's not like, like you can, ease into this stuff and create it over time, right? As
totally,
you mentioned,
totally
one bite at a time.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, you got, because a common thing that I get from people is, Josh, I want to build a business like you built where it's inbound, because they assume that it's going to be easy. And look, it's more scalable, and yeah, but it's still time.
Yeah.
My time is just spent in creating a lot of content and getting that content out there versus pounding the phones all day. But they both take work. Like there's nothing that's really easy, like coming up with a plan might be easy, but the execution on it is,
right. And there's no way, dude, I hear that. I feel like I hear that all the time. Like people are looking for an easy button, but there is no easy button. Sure, there are ways that you can leverage and, automate and all that stuff once built out. But like your face is the one on the videos. Like no one else can fucking put on your face mask and go fucking do it. You know what I mean? So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. But with technology today, and I highly encourage everybody to pour into technology. And look, people see me today and they're like, oh, Josh, you're so tech savvy. Look, you guys yeah, I'm a millennial, but I'm like the last year of the millennial generation without I was that cutoff of being like my older brother's 18 months older than me, he's Gen X. I'm a millennial, so I never owned a computer until I got into real estate. I had to learn all this stuff as well. I'm not naturally tech savvy. I'm a very slow learner. This stuff takes me a long time. Okay. I still can't understand Canva, right? It's too complicated. My mind doesn't get it. My employees, my agents make fun of me all the time, but guess what I do? I pick Monkey, which is, I guess competitive Canva. Okay, my mind gets that. Yeah. So just pick, but it's just learning one thing at a time, when it comes to this stuff. But with things like ChatGPT, or Opus, right? Okay, you can go do, let's just say you're doing a 15-minute YouTube video, about pros and cons or whatever your market. Okay, you can go take that YouTube video, top it into Opus, right? Opus AI, and it'll automatically create all of your reels and your shorts with all of the captions for you and do all the work for you. So there's so many amazing tools out there. And if you're not going to utilize, or if you don't want to learn how to do this stuff, look, I've never edited a video in my life. I have no idea how to edit a damn thing. Okay, go out there and hire people then to go out there and do it for you. Even then it's okay, for less than $100, I can go hire a video editor, on Fiverver. Yep. Get them to create, a badass, high converting thumbnail, edit the complete video. Then from there, it's, I can't afford that. Okay. Incorporate your vendors. I couldn't afford a CRM when I started. I went and talked my title company rep into buying a CRM for me, and maybe that's not RESPA compliant today. I don't know. I'll get your fucking lender to pay for it. I mean, I own a CRM company. We have a lot of lenders, that buy those systems or contribute those systems and, for that or split the cost with that. Cause, we have a lender portal access that can have access to your leads too. So, there's workarounds, right? When I first got into video, this is when, This was about 2012, so right after the great financial crisis where RESPA started cracking down on all these, like I used to get so much money from my title company and just get the world given to me for my title, but then all these RESPA crackdowns, they're like, nope, no more of this. So my title rep was really worried about like, they're going to lose our business. And I was like, okay, here's how you can add value. Like, go talk to your bosses, get them to invest in, badass camera for you, all the video editing software. I want to start doing video. I'm not going to edit them. You become our company video editor as our marketing, title sales rep, and help us grow our business that way. Like, that's all RESPA compliant. And then boom, we scale that up. So there's ways to incorporate,
there's always a way to, like, I'm listening to you and you have, not only like the relentless energy required, but also like the ideas that you've come up with for ways to still hit your end state, like meet your intent, whether or not the journey, the direct, is the same. Like, I feel like those are probably some takeaways that, most listeners could really fucking use, because there's always a fucking way. Find a way to win. So, question for wrap up question-ish. Looking back, what advice would you give yourself as a rookie agent? What do you wish that you would have known?
Yeah, the biggest mistake I made early on is, there's two of them, is number one, when I jumped in here, I just wanted to make money and I just focused on making money, which is good. Like, I love money. So don't forget, I'm like, I'm not one of these hippies that's, it's not about the money, like money's a good thing. But I didn't focus. So what you focus on is where you wind up. So fast forward 4 years, that at that point, I think I netted like 780 that year, did like 1.3 million. GCI netted 780. And here I am in still my mid 20s. So I was, making more money than I ever thought possible, but I was more miserable than I was working 4 a.m. to midnight every single day. So much stress. I just had a new kid at home and I would go 3-4 days straight without seeing my wife and my kid. And when I would see them, dude, I was so mentally and physically exhausted and stressed that I couldn't, like, might as well not even have seen them. Like, I don't even remember her childbirth. I was physically there in the room. I cut the umbilical cord. I don't even remember it. Right. So, but the mistake that I made is I didn't treat real estate as this vehicle to go out there and create the life I ultimately wanted to create. So then I allowed, because I didn't have clarity on what I wanted, why it was important to me, and leverage this real estate as a vehicle to create that. I then allowed myself to build myself into this prison that I was miserable with. So it was so I wished I would have got extreme clarity and had that understanding. The other mistake is I didn't treat this as a business early on. I didn't track my data. I didn't, I didn't, like, at the end of the day, this is a business. Yeah, we're in sales and all of this stuff, but it's like, dude, this is a business. You gotta, and if you gotta be a smart operator. So you gotta know your data. You gotta make sure you're building out your processes, your systems, and approaching this as a business. Like, you are a business owner that just happens to be in real estate. And I wished I would have really, truly known those and grasped those, right out of the gate.
Dude, that is so powerful. And that's something that it took me a little while to grasp as well. When I look back to like my first couple years in real estate, it was really just like 100% go without really much thought about either what I've done or tracking data or looking ahead. So that's something that like I'm obsessed with right now, is building actual businesses. So that really hit home. Fucking love that. Okay, Joshua, where can people find you?
Pretty simple. GSDmode.com is kind of the hub. And I got a bunch of free, content training on there, free ebook, all of that stuff. Pretty much everything that I do is 100% free. You can go to my YouTube channel. Anyone on social media, if you just type in GSD Mode or Joshua Smith GSD Mode, you'll find me.
Fuck yeah. Love it. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Freaking loved having you. Your energy is contagious. And listeners, if you want to hang with me, I am The Shelby Show on Instagram. And Aaron, it's Aaron Amuchastegui on Instagram also. And alrighty, that is it for today. So Joshua Smith, thank you so much for coming on the show.
An honor.
And Real Estate Rockstars, thanks for listening.